welcome. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Sarah. I'm the Director of Marketing here at BrainSell, but more importantly, I'm playing the role of host for today's event. And today we will be exploring how to determine the value of different CRM platforms. So while cost and budget always play a factor here, there are a number of other considerations and areas to prioritize to help you make the right choice for your company. So before we get started, let me just run through some housekeeping items. We're going to try and keep this webinar to 35 minutes with an opportunity to ask questions at the end, but we also ask that you type your questions into the question box at any point during the webinar, and I'll be monitoring it, and we can interject as Sonia and Kevin are talking with those questions. And then this event is being recorded, so we will be sending out a copy of the webinar deck, as well as the recording. You'll likely see that in your inbox tomorrow morning. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. I have Sonia Friedel on the line. She's the president of BrainSell, and I also have Kevin Cook on the line. He's the executive vice president, and I'm not sure which one of you has been at BrainSell longer, both much longer than I have, and have seen and been involved in a lot of CR implementations, but please introduce yourselves.
Great. Yeah, almost exactly the same. I think the difference is like a minute.
Yeah, maybe a couple of weeks. So Kevin and I have been here going on over 10 years at BrainSell, and have seen the company grow through so many different stages, and we've helped so many different kinds of clients with different initiatives throughout the years. So Sonia and help clients coming up with really awesome solutions to integrate their sales teams, support teams, and marketing teams, even finance as well.
And I'm Kevin Cook. Like Sonia said, 10 years plus here at BrainSell. My LinkedIn profile describes me as an extremely technical sales guy, and I really like technology. So if I get into an engagement, I get my fingers dirty, my hands dirty with technology.
Great. Thank you both. And Kevin, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk us through the agenda.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about 4 things today. The state of CRM, what CRM is today, because that's going to help us all distinguish what the right CRM might be for each of you that are watching, either live or recorded. Understanding the state of the CRM market today is going to be important because it affects you. It really does. We're going to look at the main places, the key areas that determine value. And, you may have your own metrics, that's great, but determining the value and how and why you're going to use a CRM is going to help you pick the CRM, especially in the comparison we've got today, HubSpot and Salesforce. They're very different tools. A lot of times you get into CRMs and they can be similar, but that's not the case here. These are very different tools, and so you need to understand how you're going to establish the value. And then we'll look at Salesforce and HubSpot specifically, and show you some of the similarities and some of the differences. I'm going to tackle the Salesforce side, Sonia will be on the HubSpot side, and then finally we'll just take your questions. I hope you guys are generating lots of questions, so get out your pencil and papers right now and turn your paper sideways and start writing things. Write down questions.
And then put them into the question box.
Put them into the question box, that's right.
All right, great. And how about a little bit about BrainSell?
Yeah, now, BrainSell, we've been around for a while. Sonia and I have been around here for a while, but the company's been around for more than 10 years, for 25 plus years. A growth enablement company, what does that mean? We used to just do CRM and ERP implementations, but it's so much more than that. The software is just a tool to make your company grow. And BrainSell's really bought into that. That is so important. That's how I'm speaking for Sonia now, but I know that's how we get our satisfaction in our job, by helping companies grow. And that third bullet point there is our mission statement. We help companies thrive by solving their business challenges with guidance and technology. So the software is the technology, but before you get to the technology, you got to look at the people and the process. That's what BrainSell really does. We focus on the people and process. Make sure that the technology works within your processes. We specialize in ERP and CRM like we have for over a decade now, but other things too. Business intelligence, those are the reports that you see, customer service, marketing automation, all these things play into your business systems. And notice we didn't put the specific products or the technologies up first because they're the least important. They're important, but it's the people and process that make BrainSell successful with you and make you successful.
Important to note, if I may add.
Yeah, please do.
That we do, just for context, we do have experts here in both Salesforce and HubSpot. We've used both internally as well. So we'll go into that more, but just for context that we have people at BrainSell that deploy both solutions and understand them intimately, and we're kind of unusual people, Kevin and I and Sarah too, that understand so many different solutions and their pros and cons. So it's not just limited to these two products. If you guys are interested in doing a little more comparison, maybe against Microsoft or Sugar or NetSuite, we're wealth of knowledge in all those areas too.
Yeah, over 24 different products that we represent across, I think, 9 different vendors, more than that, 10 different vendors.
Yeah. Great.
So the CRM market, it's gigantic. Probably have even maybe seen Salesforce's Super Bowl commercial, but it's a big market. $82 billion in revenue by 2025 is what the experts are projecting. If you're not already using CRM, you should be considering it. It's, the odds are with you that, or with your competition, that they're already using it as a strategic advantage and really keeping everything organized. Humans are humans. So there's a lot more than just keeping your contacts and your opportunities organized in CRM, as we're going to talk about today. There's some really amazing sales enablement things that are rolled into these CRM products now. They're not just a Rolodex anymore. And also that 91% of companies with 10 employees or more use it. So we used to say, 5 years ago, and especially, 7, 8 years ago, well, it was an organization kind of thing. It was like a necessary evil. It was a big Rolodex. You are really going to see, it's scary, the kind of technology advantages that your competitors are going to have with some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. It is not a Rolodex anymore. It's very impressive and a little scary on what these tools can do. So if you're not doing it, you're in the right place. You really should adopt it.
And it's interesting is, and they say you can make data say anything, but I've seen multiple studies, including one that Microsoft did, that says the same thing, that CRM is the biggest software market out there.
Yep. So Kev, why don't you take us through some of these key determining areas, which I know you have some tools that kind of help people navigate this.
Yeah, and Sonia, this is to what you were saying, that it's more than just a Rolodex. So you got to consider so many things when you're looking at a CRM, because you may need to integrate with other tools. You probably will want to integrate with other tools. But let's go in order here. The current state. So what are you doing now? If you're in spreadsheets, you're probably not worried about relationships, but you want to be. So those are the kinds of things. Your current state will make you will be important when you're considering your next state, your next CRM.
Well, also if your users, right, if your users cover like used to spreadsheets and pencil and paper, and it's going to be very difficult for them to adopt a souped up technology solution, maybe baby steps are a good idea, right? Maybe you don't want to go all in on, throwing the whole kitchen sink at everyone.
Right, that's right. Budget, of course. Oftentimes in talking to customers, I say, look, all things being equal, it comes down to cost, right? So if you've got 3 CRMs and they're all going to get you where you need to go, let's figure out which is going to be the lowest cost, because then you're going to be able to spend less money on the licensing, but more money on the support and the services and building out the special features like integrations. What are your overall objectives? This is something that customers oftentimes don't know what their overall objectives are. They say, well, we want better organization. But when you talk to a company like BrainSell, we'll be able to help you find those objectives and figure out what's going to be the best thing for you, the best reasons for a CRM. Companies sometimes hire us just to determine why they should buy a CRM and make sure there's going to be a good return on investment. Integrations, already alluded to this. This is one of the more important things that customers think about. Do I want to connect to my ERP system? Do I want a CRM that is a marketing tool, or do I want to connect to a marketing tool? So integrations are important. Relationships, workflow manager, relationships, say between, it's easy, customers and accounts, the companies and the people who work for the companies. But then there's other relationships. What kind of relationships do you need in your data? So everything's about data these days. You got to know what the relationships are in your data. If you don't think about that ahead of time, you may get the wrong CRM. Workflow is awfully important too, because everybody's got a process. Remember earlier I said people and process? Well, the processes are your workflows. So those are really, really key. Reporting capabilities are important too. We talk about business intelligence. Do you want your reporting to be something that the CRM does natively? Are your reporting requirements light, or do you need to build a data mart, data lake, and report on not just your CRM but other tools? How do you deploy it? Is it going to be on site? Is it going to be up in the cloud? How do you want to deploy it? Maybe you want the vendor to host it for you. The answers to those questions, or that question, it may help you pick CRM. That's going to be very important because not all vendors deploy in the same way. You may have industry-specific requirements like healthcare. Maybe you have HIPAA requirements. Ease of use, Sonia, you alluded to this earlier. If your users are on spreadsheets right now, you need to consider ease of use. These are all really important questions and the things that we dive into when we start talking to you about your CRM. I got a customer I'm working with right now, and one of the most important things they need to think about is their ability to scale, because they're small now, but they know that they're going to have a much bigger company in a couple of years for various reasons. And so they need to pick a CRM that may be too big for them right today, but in 2 years will be the right thing. They know they need to be able to scale that CRM, and if they made the wrong decision, they'd be replacing the CRM in 2 years instead of expanding the CRM. Upgrades, enhancements, things like that. You need to look at all the ancillary features that a CRM might have. Can it easily be enhanced? Are there lots of add-ons? Is there a marketplace for add-ons? Can it be upgraded easily? Is there an upgrade path? Are there known upgrades? Are there multiple versions, like the customer that I just referred to? They may want to be on a lower version now, but in 2 years they may expand not just in size, but to a different version of the same software. And finally, not the least, but finally on this list, social, networking, mobile. If you're a business to retail, social may be critical, but it's not limited to B2C. B2B businesses are now using social, so you really should think about your social media, social networking, how that plays into your CRM strategy. That's what I just said, your CRM strategy. Remember, all these things can be very different, but it's all part of your strategy for implementing CRM within your enterprise. Sonia, what have I left out? I'm sure I have. There's just so much more.
And we help walk people through these things, but usually one of our first questions is, what kind of reports, what kind of data, what kind of things are you trying to get? Because that's really going to determine how the system's set up. And so we really need to know what the end game is to get you there. And so if you're deploying a CRM right now, if you haven't been asked those questions or you haven't thought of them, I urge you to pause and consider what kind of reports and data are our leaders looking for. Because again, that's going to influence the build and the requirements. Right. So start at the end game and then dial it back.
Right. Very wise, very wise.
Great. So we've established that there are a lot of options and that there's many areas to consider when implementing a new CRM. So let's take a closer look, Sonia and Kevin, at Salesforce and HubSpot.
Very good. Yeah, Salesforce and HubSpot, very similar in that they're CRMs, but these are two platforms, two tools that are probably at opposite ends of the spectrum. No, go ahead. You can go back to that Salesforce slide. Salesforce is obviously the bigger tool. It's been around for a long time. You know, when you think of CRM, oftentimes you think of Salesforce as the CRM. That may be the first thing. When I'm at parties, people ask me, "What do you do?" I say, "Well, have you ever heard of Salesforce?" And everybody says yes. Everybody's heard of Salesforce. Like you said, Tony, they got Super Bowl commercials, right? So Salesforce has a lot of things associated with it, more than just CRM. Salesforce is a platform, but looking only at the CRM, it's got customer support. You can do customer support right out of Salesforce. Yeah, you could buy into their larger support cloud, but there's customer support built right into the sales tool.
As there is with HubSpot now.
As there is with HubSpot now. That's right. That's right. That's not a differentiator now. With Salesforce, you can have a case portal, a separate portal that your customers could log into. You can get your own customer portal or your own support portal, so you can log in and do your support through a portal. Or if you don't have it as part of your Salesforce license, you can pay for phone support. So there's lots of things to think about with regards to support. Deployment, that was one of the checkboxes in the previous slide. Salesforce is a little bit limited in that you can't deploy it like on-prem, for example. You have to deploy it in the Salesforce cloud, but they do offer a Salesforce private cloud. It comes at a premium, of course, but if, say, for example, you've got special requirements and you must have command line access or something like that, then you can get into a Salesforce private cloud. But by and large, Salesforce is deployed in the Salesforce cloud. That may be important to you because you may not like that, or maybe it's no big deal. The architecture, they have a Apex, their own private proprietary license, which is a flavor of Java, but it is not exactly Java, but that's the architecture it's built on. Architecture that it's built on, and that may make a difference to you too, because if you want to do customizations, Salesforce is very customizable. You may want to write your own customizations. You have to be able to you have to have that Apex capability. There's no user minimum. Well, I have to add a little asterisk here. There is a little bit of a user minimum for some licenses. There are user maximums for some licenses, but Salesforce does have options for you from 1 to infinite number of licenses. It just depends on the license type. And finally, email integration. Everybody's got some email integration, but this may be very important to you because Salesforce can connect to Gmail and to Outlook. But it's a consideration because maybe you're one of those customers that needs to connect to Lotus Notes or Domino server. But out of the box, Salesforce connects to Gmail and Outlook. So real high level stuff. These are some of the main questions that customers ask us. It's ideal for the companies, as you see here, that have a lot of customization needs because you can write your own code with Apex. There's an administrative interface that allows you to point and click and create custom fields. But it really is, it's great if you need to make a lot of customizations. If you have advanced reporting capabilities and you want your CRM to do things out of the box, reporting out of the box, Salesforce is a good consideration. Not all CRMs have really good reporting out of the box, but Salesforce is pretty good. And then finally, because Salesforce is so big, you may need to integrate it to your ERP system. It's probable that there is already an integration written somewhere because it's just so big and they make it possible for developers to write against their code. So if you have a lot of integration options in CRM, then Salesforce is certainly something you should consider. So that's a very high level overview of Salesforce. And Sarah, I love the fun fact that you put down there. Over 30% of the CRMs out there are already Salesforce. Wow, that's big.
Now I will say, because of course I'm going into HubSpot and I dig HubSpot as well, but it's going to take more hours and more resources to get Salesforce stood up.
You're totally right.
It's not like a shell, like it comes fully there. You can take something like lead to cash all the way through without having to design anything, but it's pretty, it's harder to implement. There's more, because there are more possibilities, right. There are more ways to do things, and it really does take an expert to set it up well.
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that, Sonia.
HubSpot's going to be a lot easier.
You can take any CRM and just turn it on and go with it.
Right.
But people that are buying into Salesforce are probably not doing that. They're probably getting Salesforce because they need to customize.
Yeah.
And if you have that need,
the admin screens are harder. I mean,
yeah,
even
that's right.
Right, like just making a field change, it's not totally difficult, but it's a little harder to navigate. So it's not a novice implementation at all.
That's
Whereas HubSpot, it's just a lot easier to implement it. It's a smaller product, which we'll go into, but it's just, HubSpot is a little more set it and forget it and get into it quicker. Salesforce is more of a commitment.
And that's a great way to say it. If you need turnkey between these two, I'd be looking at HubSpot. If you need customization, and lots of customization, I would be looking at Salesforce. Tell us more about HubSpot, Sonia.
So HubSpot started, right when Kevin and I were in a little tiny office together 10 years ago, it's right when HubSpot started, and it was not a CRM at all at that point. They used Salesforce, and it was, I think their revenue when we started, I just looked it up, was like $200,000 in 2007. And yeah, and we were using SalesLogix at the time, and I was in charge of marketing. And we had some little lead gen forms that our web developer had put up, so like contact us form, and we were just starting to get into blogging, and I was a journalist, so I was really into that and doing some content for us. And I remember saying to Kevin and Jim, our founder, there has got to be an easier way. Like, why am I hand keying these things in? And I didn't know anything about business, but like, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I started just Googling, and like, this company HubSpot comes up in Cambridge, and we went and met with them, and they started as a marketing automation system, and we implemented that. I implemented it, and I still had to hand key things into sales into Sales Logic because I didn't have an integration, and it was 10 years ago. So that was painful, but it was so much easier. I could build my landing pages. I had all my web forms. It was a true marketing automation platform, one of the first. I mean, it was so easy to use. I didn't take any training. I had never touched an automation system before and just did it. So just a few years ago, Salesforce was courting HubSpot to purchase them. That didn't work out, and I don't know many of the details, but they ended up purchasing Pardot instead. So Pardot is now Salesforce's go-to rolled in kind of marketing automation solution, although it's not really fully integrated. Like when we help clients set up Salesforce and Pardot, we still need to do the integration. We still need to set it up. So it's not like you just press a button and it's on. All right, so that's the Pardot Salesforce relationship. It's becoming more integrated, but there's still two separate things that need to be linked up. With HubSpot, yes, marketing automation came first, like I said, but then after they did not go for the acquisition from Salesforce, they decided, let's build our own CRM. I thought they were crazy. I got to tell you, I was like, wow, I think they should have taken the meal ticket and just, gone to a beach and let Salesforce buy them. But I'm pretty impressed. It started really light, like they should have, right, with the free CRM. And it is truly free still for limited features, of course, but really like impressive. So you get a lot with the free CRM, and at any time you can just turn on the marketing automation, so Marketing Hub and Service Hub. So those are all built by HubSpot. They're not acquisitions. So Marketing Hub started first, then they added on CRM, so Sales Hub, and then they added on Service Hub, which is their customer support platform. So you can go into HubSpot as a little startup and maybe even start your website on their CMS. They even have a little CMS. You can have your website on that. You can get all your lead gen going. You can add on the free CRM, and then you can start doing support tickets. It's really nice, like all in one little vision, and it's quite good. So the customer support they've got, not for the free CRM, that's more the live chat options and email, but when you're a paying customer, you get phone support. So you call in and you get an actual human, and I believe they're still all in America. It's really, really good support. The deployment, like Salesforce, is all on demand, meaning it's in the cloud. You cannot host it anywhere. It's got a really nice, fresh, new architecture, and you can't take that on site. No minimum for the user count, and email integrations are really good. Now, what some of our customers do who are on it is they run all their email through HubSpot, and you can do this with Salesforce too. It's just there are more features in the HubSpot email capability, so you connect your Outlook or your Gmail, and all your email flows into HubSpot. And more than just logging emails and seeing it through HubSpot is baked in. So with Salesforce, you're just going to be able to receive emails, and you can archive them to the right contact or opportunity account. But with HubSpot, there's more of a sales engagement functionality because they started in a different way. I think they got a really nice kickboard over Salesforce rather on building in these sales engagement features, like bots, conversation chat bots that they have built in to even the free CRM. And all those bots then can push right into the CRM. And it's just amazing. Email scheduling, email tracking, notifications. So even with the free CRM, you get up to 200 notifications a month. So if someone opens or clicks your email, you get a notification. You wouldn't be able to do that with Salesforce Sales Cloud. You'd need an add-on product to do that.
You're right.
So that's all baked in. There's so much that you get right out of the box with HubSpot. So ideal. Companies that are already obviously using the marketing automation platform, just add on the CRM and let's go. I actually had a customer who was on a bigger CRM, their marketing team is using HubSpot, and they came to us and said, I think we like the CRM, let's try it. And they ditched the big CRM that they were on, and their sales team is now totally entrenched in Sales Hub, and they love it. And marketing loves it the most, because marketing is just, that's all the same database, and they love it. And they can even now market to people who open individual emails from their account managers and stuff. So it's a really beautiful vision for a marketing person. And Sarah's probably like, oh, that's so nice, right? But you get all of those things baked in. If you have a small sales team and a limited budget, sure, but like this isn't a tiny product. You can definitely scale with it. If I were starting a new company today, like, you know, if I had invented away luggage instead of Jen Rubio, which should have happened, I would probably, you know, set my team up on HubSpot. It's just easy just to deploy it and go. And it's got those sales engagement features. So you don't need to layer on Outreach or Sales Loft, because it's all kind of baked in. And because there's not a ton you can do with customizing it, that actually makes it easier. So you're not going to be able to make like a custom object to handle all your renewals per se, but you know, if you don't need that custom module, then deploy it. Deploy HubSpot CRM. It's easy to use, and people like it. Salespeople like it. To get salespeople to like stuff, you need to give them something in return, which is knowing that people open my emails, making phone calling out of it easy. You can even make phone calls out of the HubSpot CRM Sales Hub, and you can record calls if you want with different editions. You can marketing can put out sales documents, you know, that they can use, and they're all like canned right in there in the CRM, and you can attach. So it's easy. It makes the salesperson's life easy. Therefore, they'll adopt it. And yeah.
Sorry, Sonia, a couple of questions that have come in regarding HubSpot. One, I want to be able to use it as a contact database to start, so we can log calls and log the nature of these calls. And then another CS rep can see the last call and notes, et cetera. Is that possible?
Yeah.
And then a follow-up question is, I would also like call volume reports and be able to track the reasons why customers call.
So it depends, it depends on exactly the use case there. But with calls, it depends on your phone system. It's very easy just to right within the Sales Hub. You can go in and log, I had a call with so-and-so, and you can do that in the free CRM. So that's fine. And so the first question, you can absolutely do that, and I think you'll be fine. If you want to integrate your phone system, that's going to be a different answer, but it's definitely still possible and pretty easy to do with HubSpot. The metrics on how many people are calling and all that, you would need to integrate or use, so you can do a couple different things. You can integrate your phone to HubSpot, your phone system existing, or you can actually use their calling capabilities baked into HubSpot's Sales Hub, and then you can track, yes, how many phone calls, how many pickups, how many people are taking notes on them, and you can do that all from the app, and it's a soft phone. So if you pick not to just integrate your Cisco phone or whatever, then get your phone credits through HubSpot. We can talk about pricing later. And you can actually have your salespeople use the soft phone that's on their web browser, and it's VoIP. So you can still wear a headset like I'm wearing, and you can click to dial, and it uses HubSpot's dialer in the background, and it will auto create the call and have a little like notes thing open for you. So all that's possible. Yep.
And that's a great comparison too, because what you just said is absolutely true. But you may also find that your phone system has an out-of-the-box integration to Salesforce, because there's so many integrations out there. It may be that all you have to do is call your phone provider or click a button on your phone administration page, and you're connected to Salesforce.
Yep.
Great.
Definitely.
Okay. Anything else on HubSpot, or so we'd move on to the Outlook integrations and other?
I'll also say that they have a lot of partners like us, as we're Salesforce partners too. We've always been very strategic in nature at BrainSell, so we always ask, like Kevin started with, like, what are you trying to do? What are your goals? What are da da da? With HubSpot, they have the same culture as we do, so it's a different experience when you talk to the different reps. Like with HubSpot, you're going to find it's a much more consultative approach. They really care about the goals of the customer and if we can really help. it's more strategic and less product. So I know I'm really talking about
that is a big difference. You're right.
It is. All right.
I'm not going to say anything bad about either product, though.
No, they're both great.
All right, the Outlook integration. Everybody wants their CRM to talk to email, and all the CRMs do, almost all. Salesforce, of course, they've got a great integration to Outlook. It lives right in Outlook, so you can, your salespeople can spend most of their day inside Outlook if they want to. And like you said, Sonia, you got to give your salespeople something so that they can use the tool. Well, the Outlook integration, the email integration, is one of those things that you give to your salespeople so that they actually put data into the CRM, whether they know it or not. Yep. If you want to create opportunities or create notes right from Outlook, you don't have to go open up Salesforce. You don't have to open up another browser. You can do it right from within the side panel of Outlook. And the same thing for Gmail. But the Outlook integration, I think is just really sweet. And a lot of other, this is how good it is, a lot of other CRMs have patterned their Outlook integration based on what Salesforce did. So it definitely checks the checkbox as far as Outlook integration goes.
And the Gmail integration is awesome with Salesforce too.
Yeah, that's true.
Really good.
I think that's our next slide, I think.
Oh, yeah. And with HubSpot, I think I mentioned this, so really strong Gmail and Outlook integrations, pretty matched to the Salesforce ones. You can do this in Salesforce too. Like I mentioned, you can run your entire email inbox through Salesforce or HubSpot. It's just that I will say I'm going to make the call to say that it's way better in HubSpot running your email through HubSpot than it is running your email through Salesforce. And that's because, like I said, you've got a lot of different features, getting notifications when someone opens your email, scheduling meetings right through there. Like there's so many little cool things that you can do right through the HubSpot interface when you email, including canned responses and other stuff. It's easy to set up.
So I'm not really disagreeing with you, but I am going to put a note on that. You can do those things too in Salesforce if you're in the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. CRM only, maybe not so much, but if you're in the Salesforce Marketing Cloud.
Right, totally, that's true, Kev. But if you're one-on-one, like if you're doing your opportunity follow-ups and it's one-on-one and it's not mass marketing, then that's what this is for. So this is like for the salespeople, and they love this tool.
Yeah, I concur. Let's talk about the Gmail integration. Oh, I thought we had a Gmail slide. My mistake.
They're both awesome in Gmail.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Really
and an important thing to note is Outlook. Outlook is on your desktop, so people could be using the Outlook version, the Outlook tool on their desktop. But when you're in Gmail, you're in a browser. So that's another important thing to note is that you're using a browser for everything if you're on the Gmail.
Yep.
Mobile. Salesforce has one of the earliest and best mobile tools. So that, again, it just checks the checkbox, and it gives your salespeople something that they can use easily in the field. You know, one of the problems, it's universal, is salespeople wait and they don't type in notes. They don't make changes to the CRM when it's fresh. Like when they walk out of a customer, they wait until later that night or later that week or later that month, and they fill out all the notes. I may or may not have been guilty of that in the past. But with a mobile tool, and Salesforce's mobile tool makes it really easy, you can just type in the notes real quick as you're walking out of the building after a site visit. The other thing that's also great, I mean, it's not part of Salesforce. You can do this with HubSpot too, but you can use your speech on your mobile phone to dictate the notes. You know, that's one of the things that I encourage people to do because you don't think about that. You want to type your notes in, but use speech to text to just hit a little microphone and speak your notes into your CRM.
Salesforce also has a lot of advancements around mobile. So they have Salesforce One, where I remember we made an app, Kevin, a couple of years ago, standing at one of the Salesforce events in Boston, where we both made an app in 10 minutes standing in front of this little booth. So Salesforce One is their open SDK where you can create your own custom mobile app using the Salesforce platform. So,
that's right, and that could be something that maybe pulls data from your ERP. So you're right about their SDK, their mobile toolkit.
It's very good. So that's more mature. I mean, right? They've had 15 years to work on, 10 years to work on this. So it's really good. I will say that. And they're probably one of the best mobiles. Also, they've got some AI components baked in that I saw at Dreamforce a couple years ago, where you can update a lot of things. So you can talk into the Einstein app within Salesforce Mobile and tell it to, hey, had a great meeting with Acme Solutions. Looks like the deal is going to close November 1st. Update opportunity amount to $200,000. Tell Jen to send them marketing material. And it should do all those things. It should update the op, it should send Jen the stuff, and do a follow-up task and change your likely and your updated close date. It should do all those things. So that's the kind of stuff that Salesforce has the billions of dollars to invest in.
Because their platform,
yeah. But again, like, do you really think your salespeople are going to use that? Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But it's impressive stuff. And on the HubSpot one, it's a beautiful interface. The SDK is there. You can do a lot of the same things. It's beautiful and easy to use. I will say that HubSpot's just everything's always beautiful. Like they do, it's like the Apple of CRM software, and that it's clean, it's easy to use, and it's beautiful. I'll say it's less mature than HubSpot.
I have heard that too. That the user interface, UI, user experience for HubSpot, really is unique. Yeah, people say that a lot, and you don't get that about other CRM tools.
No, and Salesforce got there when they put Lightning out, but it's still kind of putting Band-Aids on stuff, right? There's still a lot of ugly things under the covers that they're trying to remedy as they upgrade things to Lightning. But yeah, it's a journey.
Well, yeah, I would say that you're absolutely right. HubSpot has this uniquely nice interface.
Yeah.
But here's something that Salesforce has that I really like. A lot of CRMs are implementing this sort of thing, their progress bar. So it's usually, and it is with Salesforce and other CRMs. You got Microsoft and Sugar now are also adopting this capability. But the progress bar lets you know how far along in the customer journey, or the implementation, or the chasing of this opportunity, whatever you want to call it. How far along are you? And that's this progress bar illustrates. Salesforce did this really early on, so they were very early with this capability. It's configurable, so each one of the green chevrons, the checkbox in it, indicates a different stage that you've configured. So at a glance, you can see where you are for this particular opportunity. This, the Burlington Textiles. Now, something you may not think of, it's not just per opportunity or on each opportunity. You can also get a dashboard that shows you how far along all or multiple opportunities are progressing. Because it's just data in the CRM, you can say, well, let's look at individual salespeople. Let's see who's got a lot that are progressing far and who's got opportunities that are not progressing far. So this kind of capability is something that's built into Salesforce and is really, really valuable, not just on the per record view as like you're seeing here, but when you're looking at in aggregate, how far along lots of opportunities are. And I have to confess, Sonia, I don't know, does HubSpot have something like this?
It does, yeah. Their deal stages and then their sales playbooks, which I'll talk about in a minute. I will say, though, that I think there are more opportunities to do more crazy stuff in Salesforce. Like, that's kind of the theme of this whole thing. And that, like, we've just deployed a customer who used this progress bar in these stages in Salesforce to do lots of cool stuff with workflow. So on Salesforce's Enterprise Edition, you have this beautiful process builder workflow tool. And so each stage of a deal, like as you progress the progress bar, different fields can pop open and require different things. It's very similar in HubSpot, but like you can even touch, way different parts of Salesforce. So if it goes to this, then send an email to that person and do this and make this record with the integration and do all these crazy things. So there's a lot more possibilities, I think, with the Salesforce architecture.
Yeah,
but
right.
HubSpot,
Again, because it's a platform.
Elegant.
Yeah, very elegant. Lots of things you can do with it, and it's not just on opportunities. You can apply these progress capability to any kind of record.
Leads, cases are nice, like showing your customer success people or customer service people how to deal with a certain case.
One thing that I've seen is very common is onboarding a customer. So a new project, and they create an onboarding progress bar.
Sure. Good. So HubSpot has a couple different things that kind of compete with that. There are deal stages, which are very similar to that progress bar, and you can open dependent fields and things like that based on the stage. Sales Playbooks, this is a feature that comes with, I think, Enterprise, and you can also add it on to just a regular subscription to HubSpot Sales Hub. But this is very unique. I'm going to call this sales enablement again. And sales enablement platforms used to be standalone solutions where it was like, look, marketing has all this cool stuff and sales should use it. And it was usually like a separate solution that was integrated to your CRM, to Salesforce. Now this is all baked into Sales Hub, and it's with the bigger versions. You have to pay for this, it's not free. But these are certain things like you can automate different plays. So if you're selling product A, then maybe this playbook will come up with, yes, a call script, exactly coaching, what to go through, the goals, how to help the customer, questions to ask. So it's pretty neat. And your sales ops team would set this up, and it really ushers especially new reps through a selling process. I'm going to say growth-oriented companies that they know they're going to scale, this will be huge, because as you hire 20-something-year-olds, you can't train them all so well, right? You got to assist them with something. So again, they're add-on products that do this in Salesforce. It's another SKU, another thing that you're going to have to buy. So again, it's all rolled into HubSpot here.
Yeah, I really like the notion of a playbook. It's different than progress bar. And also, I want to note the progress bar doesn't always pick up on opportunity stages. It can. There can be any kind of stage for the progress bar, but the playbook is a different thing. It's how to approach this entity, this deal. It's a good idea.
And can I say one final thing, Sarah?
You sure can.
Don't let her.
Well, I don't have just a final word, but just my kind of thought that popped up right now is that it's kind of a marketer's dream to have the HubSpot ecosystem, because also baked into their CRM, because the CRM came after the automation system, they have something called lead rotation automation and lead scoring using sales data. So if a lead comes in through Marketing Hub, you can rotate it and all those things, and you can score it and bring it out to people. You can also then slurp in the Sales Hub data and score that too. So that can be part of your scoring. Now you can more predictably understand like a full view of marketing and sales. Now you kind of get that a little bit with Salesforce and Pardot and all the other automation solutions, but it's a disconnected circle. You really need to know what you're doing to patch things in and make Pardot and Salesforce really hum together. You need experience and hours to make that work. It's possible, but this is all baked in, and it's just so much easier.
Great. Yeah, that's a great point.
But then you also take what's built in. Yeah, I know we can go back and forth like this all the time. The converse to that is it may not be as customizable as the big platform. So you may have to make compromise. I don't know. There's always a yin and a yang, right?
All right, let's talk pricing, because that's not always a simple, straightforward thing. So Kevin, we'll kick it off to you.
They're just all free. No, they're not.
Wouldn't that be nice?
So Salesforce is not the most complex pricing out there, but it's not the simplest either. They're different. Remember earlier in this conversation, I talked about the different license levels. We were talking about minimum licenses and maximum license counts. And these are the basics. These are the basic license levels. And this is only for Salesforce Sales Cloud. If you're into Marketing Cloud or Support Cloud or other Service Cloud, you may have different pricing schemes. But this is just for the CRM, the pure CRM, the Sales Cloud. If you want a simple CRM today, you can go for Essentials, $25 per user per month. But if you look at the checkboxes here, you're not getting things like the progress bar.
And you can only have up to 10 users on Essentials.
That's true. That's right.
Yeah.
If you need more than 10 users, if you need to grow, if you want more capability, you got to move up to Professional.
But you can have one user on Professional.
You could, yeah, and that's another thing that's pretty good about Salesforce is you can mix and match your license types. So you could say, wow, we've got some pretty complex workflows and customizations we need, so we're going to have a couple of people using the enterprise license, but then the rest of the sales teams can be on Professional. So you don't have to all be on one license scheme or another. That is different. Not all CRMs allow you to do that, but Salesforce does. There are some cases where Salesforce can be a pretty low-cost option. But I wouldn't recommend that unless you expect to get the low-cost option now and expand into Salesforce as you grow. There's actually another lower, I think there's a lower cost option below Essentials.
Yeah, I mean, Contact.
Yeah, it's really
basic.
just Contact Manager, but I haven't seen that as very effective for most companies. Unlimited, there are a few customers out there that are using Unlimited. Unlimited just gives you everything. Another real big differentiator, though, is if you're buying into Salesforce because you need the customization capability, you also have to consider your usage. There's a little bit of consumption involved here, consumption cost, because at like Professional, you've only got a certain number of API calls. If you need a lot of API calls because you've got a lot of customizations or a lot of integrations, then you may be forced into a more expensive license type. It's all part of the consideration, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that if you expect to do a lot of customizations and you have a lot of consumption of the services, then you may be forced into a larger license type.
Yep, and all the data, you get a different amount of data with each one of these. So Google Salesforce limitation guide, and you'll get the PDF that shows you what those limits are. I'll say, and I'm sorry to jump in, Kev, but I think the enterprise, most people go up to enterprise to get the workflow and automation. That's a big
and the data consumption, it's good that you pointed that out. Not all customers are going to worry about data consumption, because if you have a lot of attached files, then maybe you do. It is an absolute consideration, but I don't want to scare people off, because unless you're attaching files or things like that, you may not need to worry about data. Still is a real consideration.
Yep. Great. And with HubSpot, so they've got, everything's really transparent on their site. So this is pretty easy to explain, but there's so many features that they have because they just keep adding features. So for the free CRM, you get all of those things, and it's pretty good. Going up to starter, you only get 1 paid user, and then you can go up to professional, you get more features and 5 paid users, and then you can add them on prorated too. So you can add them on, 1, 2, 3, 4 as you need them. So I have a client with 6 professional users, so it's not just packs of 5. It's really just going to be the feature set that's different as you move up the tiers here. So many different things. This is just a tiny snippet. But if you want those sales playbooks, you got to go to enterprise, or you can add it on as a onesie-twosie thing. And the calling integrations, that starts at starter with all the phone integration stuff. And then, tracking notifications, you're going to get certain amounts of those as you go up the levels. So starter, you're going to get like 200 notifications versus professional, you'll get 1,000, for example. So really, you just talk to us and we'll help you through getting in the right package. Now, big asterisk here. November 1st, which is, Kev, 3 weeks? 3 weeks away?
Oh, yeah, 3 weeks away.
Salesforce is going up in price. HubSpot is going up in price. $400 a month for Pro is going to turn into $500 a month for Pro. If you're considering buying it, let us know. I'll even be able to get you a deal under $400 a month. And then anyone who's in that pricing will be grandfathered in. Your price is not going to go up to the $500 a month. It's only new deals that are going to be subject to the new pricing after November 1. So if you're on the fence about it, talk to us. We'll get you a really good deal, and we'll get you into the grandfathered pricing. But after we decide with you if this is a good move or not.
Okay.
That's right, but you got to talk to us. Got to communicate with us.
So, which one is it? It's so hard to tell. Totally subjective. It's going to be up to what you need, you guys, your company, your goals, why you're doing this. Very important to interview, like we were talking about with the reports. Interview the key stakeholders. What do they want this for? And prioritizing all those key areas of value. And we have decision-making grids and weighting Excel sheets that we use with our clients to try to help them through the big decision, because it is a big commitment. Budget, of course, and what's the ROI though? Sure, there's budget, but we can even help you, through the process. We're your advocate. If we think that HubSpot or Salesforce is a good move for you, we'll help you even get some ROI out of that. So we'll we'll try to help you out understanding, is there an ROI? I mean, I stepped away from a client saying, I just don't think you're not going to make any money from this. You're not going to be more efficient. What's the point? So we'll tell you that too. And then having the right deployment partner is huge. I mean, it's just like having the right contractor do your house over. Sure, you can have all the blueprints there, but if you don't have the right person executing it or team executing it, it's as good as their work. So that's
Right.
so key.
Right. So all these questions are things that we can answer for you, dear customer, dear viewer. I think it is important to talk to somebody. You can answer these questions on your own, sure, but this is potentially a big spend for you. So it would make sense to bring in a party like BrainSell to help you answer these questions.
Well, it's your own vision. I kind of beg to differ on that. I mean, maybe you've worked at 20 different top tier companies and you might have a better idea, but things change so much in this industry, and we have hundreds of customers that use these applications. So we talk to so many different types of businesses, and that's really what it's going to come down to is like your people, your process, and then the technology that you put behind
People and
it.
process. That's right. People and process.
Yep. Right. Sarah, do we have any questions?
Okay, yeah. So let's move on to our questions. We've had a few come in. If there are others that have questions, feel free to put them in the question box right now, and we will try and get to as many as we can. I think we touched upon this one a little bit, but how difficult is it to implement HubSpot versus Salesforce?
Yeah, HubSpot's easier.
Is there a difference?
Clearly, yes.
Yeah.
Hands down, there's no question.
It's a lot easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier. It's more finite.
The follow-on was, will I need outside help?
Yeah.
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 And for both or just for?
Yes, 100% you'll need for both.
Okay.
And whether you buy through HubSpot or BrainSell, with HubSpot at least, you can't really deploy it without help. Like they want you to have the starter package so that you don't fail. You can use the free CRM for free, no help, but you really need to have an implementation partner. You can't be an expert in everything. And Salesforce, forget it. Good luck. Don't do it.
Okay, this one is around fees. So it came up during when we were talking about Salesforce pricing, but it may be relevant to both. What about integration fees, hosting fees, and miscellaneous license fees?
Oh, that's a great point. Usually, if you're buying a license, you're buying a license. So you don't have to worry about other licensing unless you need third-party products, you're rolling things in. But you may get hit with Salesforce. I'm only speaking for Salesforce now. You may get hit with other consumption charges, like, for example, Sonia, you alluded to this, your data. You're storing more data than they allow. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. Or you're making more API calls if you got a lot of integrations. Remember I said in the licensing portion, you could have extra cost for extra API calls, so that's absolutely a consideration. Implementation, that's a hard question to answer. Sonia, I'm sure you'll want to touch on this too. It is going to be a cost center. An implementation is going to be a cost center. You probably don't want to do it on your own. If you do it on your own, it might cost you more in your time and treasure.
There are no hosting fees, though. So I'll say that there are no hosting fees.
There are no hosting fees for either one of these two. I want to speak in generalities. That's not always the case because these two CRMs force you to stay in their own vendor cloud. Salesforce has the ability to give you a private cloud, which you do pay a premium for. There are other CRMs that allow you to host in your cloud, so you can get your own Amazon instance or Azure instance. But for these two, not these two. Yep. These two, there is no hosting cost. That's a great point.
Yep. And so the startup, so implementation with Salesforce is like you come to me and tell me that you want to build a 4-bedroom house. And how much is it going to cost? Like, we got to talk about it. I don't know. But with HubSpot, it's way more fixed. Like, we've got packages because you can only do so much with the house, and that's just kind of the way that it's set up. So usually for certainly under $10,000, if you've got like under 20 users, the startup fees are usually under that, so $5,000 range for HubSpot. Your data migration is a whole different story. That's like, the worst, but data migration, moving those things over is tough. I think that's where a lot of cost and confusion comes in with these implementations is migration. And then integrations, we just have to know, you know, it's just like the house metaphor. We just need to talk to you.
Now, back to Salesforce, there may be, let's just pretend, for example, I need to connect it to QuickBooks. There are canned QuickBooks integrations out there. You'll find a lot of canned integrations in the Salesforce world, and just look at it, it's a price sheet, it's $1,500 a year, or whatever it is, and you just buy it. So your cost can be figured out for some of these things pretty easily.
Yeah.
But it's not something you can just say off the cuff here. Yeah, so.
Okay. We have a bunch of questions coming in. So if we don't get to your questions, I know we only have a couple more minutes. We'll take one more, but we'll make sure to follow up with you individually to answer the questions you have. So quickly, what tools, speaking of data, actually migration, what tools are available to import data from an existing CRM? Sounds like it's a heavy list.
Lots of them.
A lot.
I think, you know, ETL tools, migration tools are pretty commoditized these days, and there's ETL tools that work with both of these really, really well.
Okay, then let's take one more because that was a quick response. HubSpot Pricing Starter includes one paid user. Does this mean that only one user can use it?
So you can, it includes one paid user at that $50 a month price. You can add on other users though. So no, it doesn't come with just one user. Yeah, that is a little, that $50 a month price point is just for one user. Yeah. Then you can add on other, for another $50 a month, you can add on more users.
Great. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's just move on since we have 1 minute left and wrap up. All right. So any kind of like last thoughts, Kevin or Sonia, before we say?
Yeah, we would love to do a value assessment with you guys. If anybody's got questions for considering a CRM, if you need to do more differentiation between the two, help you make a choice, we would love to work with you. We have a CRM questionnaire. It covers lots and lots of topics, probably more than you really need to, but it covers all sorts of things from soup to nuts. We would share that questionnaire with you and work through those questions with you.
Yep, and that's a no cost thing. It's just part of our process. And I tell people sometimes, like, I am the nurse at the triage desk, and we're gonna assess you and ask you some questions, like Kevin said, from our notebook, and then we'll bring in the doctors, we'll bring in the specialists and the surgeons, and those are our amazing engineers and business analysts. So we're just like kind of the front facing. Very knowledgeable people, but we're the nurses, and we take your vitals, and then we align you with experts. So I encourage you, if you guys are like a little lost in your journey, at previous companies I've worked at, I had to do this myself, and it was horrible, and I didn't know what to do. So I would have liked to talk to someone like Kevin 11 years ago when I was at a different company. So no, I think that's it, Sarah, and thank you. This is a great topic. I don't think many people touch on this, but also email us if you want us to do more of these comparison webinars or any other types. Please let Sarah know.
Yeah, and as we mentioned at the top of the webinar, we will be sending an email likely tomorrow morning that will include a link to the recording of the webinar as well as the slides from the presentation. And then we will follow up. Anyone that we didn't answer your questions or get to you, we will follow up with you individually as well to make sure that all of your questions are answered. And thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.